What's good, YouTube? This is MajoraMayhem coming at you now with another deck profile. Today we're going to be taking a look at the finished deck of what I showed you on that testing in a previous video, and that is my Jolteon, Glaceon, Vileplume, Mew deck. Quite the lengthy name. And let's get right on into it. So to start us off, our two main guys of the deck, Jolteon EX and... let me get that more into camera. Okay. Jolteon EX and Glaceon EX. These two are where pretty much all of your attacks come from. Glaceon EX has the Crystal Ray attack, 70 base damage, and your opponent's evolved Pokemon can't, basically all their attacks, any effects of them do nothing to the Glaceon for the rest of that turn. And then Jolteon EX, the first one with it, and the Flash Ray, it has that same effect for just basic Pokemon. Another thing to note is Glaceon EX's first attack, second bite, is pretty much a Wobbuffet with base 20, and that can actually come pretty in handy when you're trying to clinch some kills late in the game. To complement those two, we have Mew from Fates Collide. His ability allows him to use the attacks of any of your basic Pokemon in play. So if you have the energy requirement needed to attack with either Glaceon EX or Jolteon EX, you can use it with Mew. And to combo well with that, I play Rainbow Energy, which acts as any energy in the game. So if I have a Mew with, say, Rainbow Energy and Double Colorless, it fulfills the attack requirements of both of the rays, and I can basically alternate my attacks depending on what I'm dealing with at that moment. The reason I dropped them down to 2 as opposed to the 4 in the testing video was just if you're playing against something that deals damage outside of attack, so say you're playing against Bats or Greninja or Alakazam, then you see your Mews dying a lot, and when a Mew dies, that's actually a pretty big hit because you're usually losing a Rainbow Energy and a DCE off of that, and I have no way to recover those, so I ended up dropping these down just because there are some matchups where I do prefer to have the originals in play just because they're bulkier. For the stunniest aspect of the deck, I play a 3-3-3 line of Vileplume. As I said in the testing video, the 2-2-2 line was working pretty well. However, I think that playing the 3-3-3 allows me to almost guarantee those turn 1 setups, which is really where Vileplume comes into play. If you drop Vileplume turn 2 or 3, a lot of times in this format, that's just too late. Your opponent's already played a lot of their power item cards, and most time will be set up. But Vileplume really does nothing if your opponent is already set up. So I play them like this with this build, so that I can see them more consistently. It does lead to me starting off with the Oddish a bit more often than I'd like, but I mean, on the plus side, just turn 1 item lock is such an unfair game state for an opponent to have to deal with. That on top of essentially blocking their attacks off of Glaceon and Jolteon, it's pretty rough. For my 2 non-attacking EXs, I play a Manaphy EX and a Shaman. Shaman, just to draw power, drop off the Ultra Ball, and get what you need. Manaphy gives my Glaceon free retreat, which is actually pretty important because Glaceon and Vileplume are the 2 main targets for Lysander, so if I just toss a Water or Rainbow Energy onto them, I can get them out of there and start dealing damage with a Jolteon or a Mew. Big issue with these two obviously is that they are free 2 prize cards. However, given that I opted to go for the EX heavier build with bumping up the Jolteon and the Glaceon, I do think, since I'm already running that risk, it's better off for me to take that utility. Going into the items, just some staples, VS Seekers, Trainer Mails, and Ultra Balls. I ended up dropping the Acro Bikes in favor of just boosting up my Vileplume line, just because those Acro Bikes were completely dead whenever I did get my Vileplume out, and I don't like having dead cards in my hand. I'd much rather have playable monsters or energy. And so, as useful as acrobatics were for getting my turn 1 setup, I figured I was better off focusing more on the monster line there and not leaving myself dead in the water when I'm already set up. For some 2-0s, I play 2 Bow Compressors and 2 Revitalizers. This is kind of the main item combo to help me get Vileplume set up. Bow Compressor lets me dump an entire line of Vileplume if I need it, or maybe just a couple of pieces if I'm just missing them. And then Revitalizer lets me add in the back, so say I start with an Oddish and Force Giant Plants, I can Bow Compressor a Gloom and a Vileplume, and then just Revitalizer those 2 back to my hand and play them. So this helps a lot more with the consistency in that regard. It takes up the same space as the Acrobike did, but Bow Compressor also gets me other utility in that I can dump a supporter, most likely a Sycamore, and then VS Seeker that back. So it just serves the multiple purpose, and I'm not throwing away key energy like I was always doing with Acrobike, because that's just what Acrobike does. I'm also playing 2 Muscle Bands and 1 Floatstone. The Muscle Bands make it to where my Glaceon and my Jolteon are swinging for 90 apiece, or the Mew if I've got that up, which is pretty important because that means I'm 2-shotting an EX as opposed to 3-shotting them, which it was definitely kind of an issue with this deck. Really where it is if I give my opponent enough time, they're going to hit their Hex Maniac or Lysander. So Muscle Band really cuts down on that time. The obvious issue with it is I can't play it once I have the item lock up. But if I go through my deck fast enough, if I hit these cards, I can get them onto my main attacker and dealing their damage. Floatstone's just there to basically get out a Rogue Shaman or Oddish that's been Lysandered or I started out with. Have been debating cutting that now that I am playing the Mana Fee, but the thing about Floatstone is it doesn't cost my energy for turn. So that is pretty important during the turn 1 setup. To round up my items, I play 2 level balls, just lets me get to Oddish, Gloom, and Mew. I was playing 4 for a while, but that just got super cloggy. Still a very solid card. It's a 1-for-1. Do kind of wish I had a discard option just so I could make room for Shaman, for Shaman's effect. But it's still a very strong card and really helps me during the turn 1 setup. 4 Forest of Giant Planets, I mean, it's just staple. Like, you have to hit this card turn 1 so that you can drop Vileplume. Going on to my supporters, I play 4 Sycamore. This is the card that you want to resolve turn 1. It's so important for hitting all your resources. It lets you get to your DCs, it lets you get to your pieces of Vileplume, lets you get to your forest. Really just the center card turn 1, and with me playing the Revitalizer, I don't feel as bad resolving it when I have important cards in my hand. I have considered playing Puzzle of Time so that I can get more stuff back off of it, but again, that runs into the same problem as Acrobike did, where it's just another dead card in my hand when I do have item lockup. 3 copies of N. I know that last time I talked about cutting these down a bit, but just with further testing, especially against actual players, N's just an amazing card for the late game, because when you have that item lock dropped and you're constantly disrupting your opponent's hand, it makes it very difficult for them to come up with a coherent plan to get past your raise, which is pretty fantastic. Also, playing the 3, it means that I'm gonna hit an in and don't have to rely on VS Seeker for it, which is a big thing because I can't play the VS Seekers when I have Vileplume down. So this just lets me resolve multiples. 1 copy of AZ turns off Vileplume. That's about it. Sometimes I'm forced to use it for Shaman if I'm just having bad draws, but for the most part, it just lets you turn off your item lock, resolve all those dead item cards in your hand, and then you just drop your Vileplume line back down. For the energy, I've got 1 water and 1 lightning. It's mostly just to up the count of my rainbow energy. I basically, the water and lightning only ever go on to Jolteon or Glaceon respectively. Rainbow energy is the big one, as I can toss down to Mew, and as I described, basically alternate between the attacks I'm using. And to round it out, you know it, you love it. 4 double colorless energy. Just attach this, attach a rainbow. I'm good to go to start attacking. And that's my deck profile. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.